Welcome to our community. Susie Thomas with you this morning. So happy to welcome Joe Siebert, who is a local filmmaker and was the person who is responsible for an awesome documentary called The Sax Man. Good morning, Joe.
Hey, how are you, Susie?
I'm doing great and so happy you could spend some time with us. Before we get into an announcement about The Sax Man, let's find out a little bit more about it. Who is this person that we all know?
The Sax Man his name's Maurice Reedus Jr. He was a street musician who played outside of all the ball games and all the plays and everything in Cleveland for about 20 years. And a lot of people in Cleveland just came to know him as part of the community and really all of Northeast Ohio. Many people may have heard that just a couple weeks ago he actually passed away at his apartment at the age of 65 with some heart complications. The release of the film, actually, the timing's been really crazy because we've been literally waiting to share this with him for the last 4 years since we were able to play it at the festivals. And it was literally the week that we found out from our distributor that we were going to be released that we got a call from his sister that he had passed. So it's been kind of a
timing is amazing. Yes, so sad. He never got to know before he passed away that you actually got the green light to go ahead and distribute the film. Yes.
No, he unfortunately never actually got to find that out.
He knows now.
He does now. That's right.
Yes. All right. As you say, everybody knew this man. Every time you go to an Indians game or a Cavs game or a Browns game, he certainly was part of the experience because you'd go and there would be this really kind of amazing guy playing the Flintstone song or Take Me Out to the Ball Game. He was really good, which was kind of, you weren't expecting him to be quite so good. So tell me how you got this relationship going to make a film about the Sax Man.
Yeah. So, knowing that he was just this part of the Cleveland community, we realized that not many people actually knew his story or, even knew his name. They knew who the Sax Man was if you said something to them, but they didn't know who Maurice Reedus Jr. was. And so it, occurred to us that there was a real story there just with kind of filling in those gaps and bridging, making that connection between the character that everybody knew and the person behind it. So that got us off and running on what ended up being about 3 years of developing the story and fundraising and filming and putting it all together and film, and it culminated with a reunion concert that he had with his old band who he used to tour the country with back in the 70s, and we had the concert at the House of Blues on July 18th in 2013, and so he along with his old bandmates got to have this big reunion experience, and there were I think it was close to 800 people came out just to see the Sax Man play, this time instead of on the sidewalk outside of the House of Blues, actually, as the headliner.
Taking the stage.
And so it was just a great experience. And then we got to screen the film the following year at the Cleveland International Film Festival the audience is there.
Yeah, first of all, to be able to be invited to the Cleveland International Film Festival is a big deal. Those of us who live in this area may not realize it, but nationally, internationally, it's really respected as one of the great film festivals to get accepted into. So to be in it is one thing, but you didn't just get to screen the film there. You were award winner there, right?
Yeah, we won the Local Heroes Award, which was the Ohio Filmmakers Award. So we took the top spot in the Ohio films there that year. And we also, I think we ended up selling out like 7 screens. They had to add like 3 extra showings because so many people wanted to come see what it was about. So it was really gratifying for us, and also just to be able to see him, take a moment to really take in that acknowledgement and appreciation that he was getting from the city.
He got to experience that, but let's go back to that night at House of Blues as well. I'm sure you wondered, will anyone come to this? Because it was basically to finish up the film. What a neat way to finish it. We don't want to give away too many spoilers. We want everybody to watch it. But to have his old band mates who are now out in California call him and say, how about a reunion? And
Right.
then, oh my gosh, just his reaction to that is so precious and so priceless. And then I'm so honored. We got to be there in the audience that night and experience firsthand. But talk about that night and the way he was on stage and his performance and everyone's reaction and how many people were there. Let's relive that night a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was, like you said, the entire end of the film hinged on it, and so we were really counting on people to show up. And you can do all the marketing you want to do, but in the end, interest really is going to determine that, and we had no clue. And because the majority of people buy their tickets at the door, you can't really get the greatest gauge off a pre-sale. So I was a nervous wreck for probably a month leading up to that, just because so much was riding on it. And that night we just had a full house, and people kept coming in and I don't think anybody really could believe the turnout we had.
Yeah.
And then the not only that, but in addition, the show has to go well, and we're filming it, and we haven't really seen these guys in a situation like this together, and it's been so long since they played, but they put on such a great show, and the audience was so engaged, and he was just a star. He, you talked about how he's out there playing the Flintstones and Take Me Out to the Ball Game on the street, but people saw this completely new side of him that I don't think anyone expected, and it was just this true professional saxophone player, this performer who just, I think, really blew everyone away and gave them a new appreciation for him. So the night went as well as we could have ever hoped for, and it's definitely one that I'll never forget.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. Same here. Yeah, you hope he's going to, first of all, show up, and then you hope that it'll go well. And both check and check. It had to be interesting. Let's dispel a few myths. He was not homeless. Tell us a little bit about his life.
Yeah, well, he was of modest means, but he lived in an apartment east of Cleveland. His most of his family is in the area, so he's very closely connected with his family. But he made the majority of his living, just taking donations on the street. He never asked for money, but his case was open as the customary busker setup. But he would play gigs here and there, and people would have him come play parties. And after the concert, he, I think, even got an uptick in invitations of people wanting to have the sax man come and play at my event or play at
I'm
my
sure.
promotional. So it was he was active, and he was truly a musician, and played every day that he could up until the very end.
I think one thing that's remarkable about the film is that you just forget. He puts a face on a person trying to make a living as a street musician, someone working, basically a street person. It's a hard life. You don't think of these people as having a family, of having sisters and people who, in their lives, people who desperately care about them and want them to be okay.
Yeah.
You tell such a personal, beautiful story about the number of people this man touched with his life. You want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah. I mean, he had a really rich life, and he had a lot of rich, deep relationships, and for him, it was even more so, I think, than being, a for the sake of the fame or being
Mm-hmm.
a professional. It was the relationships he was able to cultivate, and he a thing that was always said about him was he never knew a stranger, and so he was a big part of I think what made him a fixture of the community was just that he wasn't out there just playing and then he'd pack up and go home. He's talking to everybody. He's playing
Right.
special requests for the kids, and there was just a spirit that exuded from him that he was just attractive and made people just enjoy him, and he was just an additive presence when he was out there. So there was a lot about him that just made him somebody that
Yeah.
drew people in
He did.
and helped him develop those relationships. So
Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you, we're going to be going to a game coming up here on Saturday, and I can't imagine what it's going to sound like to have the street be quiet and not have him
yeah,
there. I can't even fathom of what that's going to be. So sad. Have
yeah.
Have you
There's
had
that.
others say the same thing?
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, I had our producer. Actually, he was at an Indians game. The Indians actually did a seventh inning stretch tribute
Oh, neat.
on their big screen where they played a section of the film where he plays "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," and they had the stadium all sing along.
Oh,
But he said, after he left, there's you do expect that somewhere off in the distance there's going to be the sound of a saxophone playing, and it was it was absent.
not
And
there.
you I think more than anything, just recognizing that isn't there makes the reality sink in. That he's he isn't with us anymore, and but it's the memory of hearing it, I think is what really helps his spirit to kind of persevere, knowing that you can still walk and feel that.
Mm-hmm. It makes your film even more profound. I've seen it before, and just seeing it again the other evening was like, whoa, it just hits all the feels. I'll tell you. You just really go
it
through
felt,
it.
it felt the same way. I mean, I've
Man.
seen it as much. I'm sure I've seen it more than anyone, just because I edited the film also and went to all the festivals. But I felt like I was watching it for the first time. Especially some parts, like it really was ultimately a legacy film. And I think after somebody passes, the poignancy of that component of it just becomes that much more
Just all the more. Well,
profound.
we're going to say this a lot of times. Everyone can watch it now. So, and in the second half, we'll talk about your journey getting there. But how do we get a copy of The Sax Man, Joe?
Well, I'm happy to let people know the Saxman is now available for purchase on iTunes and Amazon. So if you go to the iTunes store or to Amazon or your Amazon Prime account, you can type in the Saxman and find it there, and you can purchase DVDs or download a digital copy.
And this is saying something, because first of all, to get any film to that level and wide distribution, that's an amazing achievement. When you have one that's full of so much music, it's so expensive. Yes, what was the holdup?
Yeah, that was basically the entirety of the last 4 years was trying to get the music rights secured for the film. So that was its whole own project in and of itself.
Pretty awesome, but you hung in there, and perseverance. It's a good story of perseverance in its own right. We're going to take a short break here. We'll be back with Joe Sieber. Go behind the scenes a little bit on the making of The Saxman after these words. You're listening to Our Community.